Okay. We'll just let the photographers do what they do. Okay. Thank you for coming back. I don't want to say we save the best for last, but in some way we kind of do, right? It's a little sort of spark here in what has been, I think, a long day. Okay, well, first I want to introduce the moderator, who will introduce all the different participants in our players panel. Dr. Leon Doherty is the Dean for the College of Arts and Sciences at Simmons College. Before beginning her tenure as Dean, Dr. Doherty served as the Associate Dean of Academic Affairs, where she was sort of responsible for the design and development of new curriculum and the implementation of academic policies and procedures in the College of Arts and Sciences. She continues to serve as the Director of the Honors Program and as the Program Director for the Masters in Public Policy. She's published research on political science and pedagogy in PS Political Science and Politics, Journal of Political Science Education, and Politics and Gender. Her current research project looks at the role that social media plays on definitions of gender in politics and sports. Leanne, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. First, before we get started, there's been a lot of thank yous to the folks behind me on this placard here, but there's 3 people individually I'd like to thank. Maria I'm gonna do it, Spalaraki, yeah. Jessica Barnard and Elizabeth Riley. Both of them represent these symbols behind me. You may not see them all the time as prominently, but their work is invaluable to this conference, so I just wanted to publicly acknowledge them before we get started today. Over the past 2 days, I've been privileged to learn from colleagues located around the world about the state of borders in what I call soccer, what many of you call football, and what I think we all would call the beautiful game. Borders, by their very definition, are an edge, often indicating other. Whether that other is a country, an identity, a way of thinking, or a group of people, borders are typically meant to be crossed. With that framing in mind, it is only appropriate that our 4 panelists have crossed the border from professional athlete to the next stages in their career, whether that be coaches, advocates, thought leaders, and the many other identities that we will hear about today. And because all of you came to hear today from them and not me, let me say some brief words about our distinguished guests. You all know their playing statistics, and as of the last 2 days, now I do as well. Their victories on the pitch, right? Not the field, I'm getting it, thank you. And their contributions to the game. What I will share with you now are very brief introductions, because you know who they are, to their work since crossing their own borders from professional footballer to beyond. The brevity of these introductions are to set the stage for us to hear from them directly. To my immediate left, Samaras Mclean Lane is from the Golden Eagle clan of Lumi Nation, a Coast Salish tribe in Washington State in the United States. Tamras is an Indigenous scholar, sports broadcaster, MC, coach, and former professional soccer player. She holds a master's degree in American Indian Studies from UCLA and is an active Nike N7 ambassador, where she works to create access to sport for Native youth. Her purpose, she says, is to generate spaces of visibility that prioritize the Indigenous voice and empower Indigenous people and their tribal communities. Next, Kριστιάν Καρεμπέ is a former French international footballer and the current strategic advisor on Olympiacos FC. Καρεμπέ is a member of the Champions for Peace Club, a group of 54 famous elite athletes committed to serving peace in the world through sport. Deeply involved in peace and sport activities, Καρεμπέ visited Haiti in August 2010 to strengthen the role of sport in the country's reconstruction efforts and attract the attention of the international community to urgent needs that prevail there. So we look forward to hearing more about your activities then. Lillian Tουράμ is a French professional football defender and the most capped player in the history of the French national team, with 142 appearances between 1994 and 2008. His post-soccer career has been one of advocacy and political engagement. Known for his pointed stances on racism, he has supported the right for people to maintain the Catalan as the primary language as a form of cultural preservation, led difficult discussions around race and identity through art, and supported the call of equal marriage in France. And I don't know why the Greek name is the hardest for me, but I'm going to try my best. Antonios Nikopolidis is a former, yeah? Ah, you're kind. That was generous. Thank you all. I appreciate it. Thank you. Well, I can go home now. Thank you. Is a former Greek football goalkeeper and current football manager of the Greek national under-21 football team. He is one of the directors of Elpidia, of course, Hope FC, a refugee football club in Athens, which includes players from Syria, Yemen, Iraq, and Afghanistan. All four of our panelists embody the theme of social justice through sport, and I know I'm excited to hear more about it from them. So to get the conversation started, and we hope it will be a conversation amongst you four, I want to pose this question to all four of you. Could you please describe a border that you've had to cross or that you've helped others cross during your time as a player or in the work that you've done during your post-football career? Tamara, would you like to begin? Please.
Thank you very much. Thank you again to each and every one of you for having me. Like she said, my name is Temris Mclean Lane. I'll also introduce myself in my Lami language. Natsiam Nachalachasiam Khlitia Senesnat. That's Khlitia is my Lami name. I was given that name in a ceremony in 2014, and it means to return to the beginning, to my inherent right to provide healing. For me, football is my tool to provide healing, and it has really been a way of life, which in our language we call shalangen, means way of life. I spent my whole life played professionally in Sweden, overseas. That's a border that I crossed. But really, my first awareness of a border or a barrier would be the distinction. I have a Mclean Lane. It's a Scottish family name. My mother is English, Irish, Scottish, and Ukrainian, and my father is Lami. Lach Tamish is our original tribal name, and it means survivors of the Great Flood. Our stories take us back about 13,000 years from northwest Washington State, north of Seattle, right on the border of Vancouver, or Canada, British Columbia. My father's a fisherman, salmon fisherman. My whole family member, we depend on fishing as a way of life, and it's something we've really had to fight for. My work, and I decided to go back to school after finishing my career playing overseas. After a career, or I still broadcast, I still am an analyst for a Pac-12 conference. It's a collegiate conference on the West Coast. And I decided to go back to the university in American Indian Studies. I found myself often with the microphone, much like this. And I'm often people's first experience in speaking to a Native American for many reasons. And the history of the United States in terms of its relationship with indigenous people hasn't really been acknowledged. So that's why I'm here, and that's why I think that football, or I know how important football is to our communities. Yet it's been isolated from our tribal communities, whether it's in urban centers and cities or in reservation communities. After listening to a lot of the conversations, particularly that of the refugees, it reminded me of being on the front lines out at Standing Rock. By a show of hands, how many of you guys heard about what happened in Standing Rock? Yeah, and I would say that that's generally more than a lot of Americans heard. So the coverage in America actually limits the visibility and the stories of the indigenous narrative. So Standing Rock was an interesting experience for me, one that I felt football had really prepared me for as a leader, utilizing my voice, being on the front line of battle, or the perception of it. And the camp that was set up reminded me a lot like different, of course, but it reminded me a lot of what you hear or envision. I haven't ever visited a refugee camp, but what I imagined, the Standing Rock, it was called the Ocheti Shak Kohen, which is the 7 sacred fires at Standing Rock. And the militaristic violence that we experienced while being at Standing Rock, while being unarmed, peaceful, utilizing our ceremonies and our ways of life, was extremely traumatic. And we had a number, it was the largest Native American gathering in the United States in recorded history. A lot of the tribes, mind you, there's 566 federally recognized tribes in the United States, each of which have their own language. Just to give you an idea, if language is representative of culture, how vast and diverse our cultures are. There is no one generic Native American language. There's many. So being at Standing Rock was an experience that changed my life forever. Having guns pointed at your head for standing in the way of the water, standing in the way of burial sites where the ancestors are buried, in which they plowed through, being there when on Thanksgiving, which was a bit ironic in itself. I also brought soccer balls to the camp. I brought soccer balls. I have a friend who played, and he donated a bag of balls, and it really did something for the youth. And it gave them an opportunity to come together. They started a school called Defenders of the Water School. So my work, I went to Standing Rock after I finished my master's degree in American Indian Studies, and my thesis is on North American Indigenous soccer, visibility, healing, and shillangin, or way of life, in the global game. And I really argue that the visibility that football can provide, not only on a global level, by bringing a validity to Native identities, but also on a local level, if other Native girls are seeing that I play soccer, and that it has not only provided me an opportunity to play and have fun, but pathways to higher education, that it can provide a sense of healing just in confidence and self-esteem and all kinds of life skills and tools by coming together and working together and having roles, whether you're the starting star player scoring goals, the center back, I was the center back or defender, or whether you're a manager collecting the water. One of the main things that we set out at Standing Rock is Mani Wachoni. In Lakota, that means water is life. And we were literally putting our bodies in the way to protect the water. We decided we weren't called protesters, we were protectors. And I also feel that it's an inherent duty as a Native person, as an Indigenous person, to protect and honor our ways of life. And our relationships, our relationality with each other is very much in connection to the land. The water is our relative. The land is our relative. Our stories come from those places. And it really forms our identity. I probably need to move on, but I just wanted to give you a brief idea of how football or soccer has really been my source of healing. And I want that opportunity for other Native kids. And unfortunately, by the politics and the assimilation policies enforced upon Native, my grandfather went to a boarding school. My grandparents were forced not to speak their language, so I didn't grow up learning my language. The punishment was severe. Many kids never returned from boarding schools. So why haven't we been introduced or allowed or provided pathways to the global game? If the game belongs to everybody, why aren't more Native Americans playing it? And so I'm really working to develop soccer or football in Native communities so that they can provide pathways to higher education, which for me is cross-cultural exchange, travel, higher education in the academy, and of course Indigenous knowledge systems, which includes elder knowledge. So the game for me is a pedagogy, it's a way of life, and it's a way of healing. So thank you.
Christian, may I pose the same question to you? This idea of borders and things you've had to cross in football or in life in general. I mean, very easy question,
I think
I'm sure.
I'm fortunate. First of all, I would like to thank all the participants. You have the outstanding panels and researching expertises, and for sure that for me, I improve a lot by learning through your experiences, but also analysis. And so far, yes, I come from New Caledonia. New Caledonia is South Pacific Islands, where I grew up, where I belong to. And for sure that when she talk about Indigenous and how they face the colonial period, for me, and also in my culture, we don't have any borders. When we are in the islands, we say that the sea is the continuity of our lives. So far, we don't have any borders. But I was very fortunate to travel and to cross borders. At that time, from New Caledonia to Europe, it was like 74 hours by plane. So far, I moved from New Caledonia to Australia, from Australia to Jakarta, Singapore, New Delhi, and then to France. So many borders already, without knowing that I was crossing the borders, without knowing that I'm also traveling with my own luggage, with my own stories, with my own culture, with my own traditions. So far, it could be a shock when I come to France, but I did learn how to speak French, because my native language is another one. And I did educate myself, and to educate myself to be a footballer. Because I think that we talk about dream to be a professional. But it's another thing. It's sacrifices, it's so many values you interfere, so many values you interact, and you learn also how to behave, how to become. And thanks to my dads and parents, because my father was a teacher, so I could have an encyclopedia to read and to learn about it. And before coming, I was studying biotechnology. So I need to know about what the sources of energy from the nature, winds, solar, and other waves to produce electricity. But also interactive with the nature, that nature is also our mother, how we said, motherland, where they can give you food. Usually, when we talk about movement, I've been doing documentaries with nomads. Nomads, for them, it's really important and normal to move. Why they move? Because they go to search some food or water. This is how we become nomad and how we, like I said, people. And through my documentaries, through my documentaries, I learned what is the power of football also, because in each countries I've been, I was also bringing a ball, because I didn't speak any language, any Mongolians, Ethiopian, Namibian language. So with the ball, when I threw up the ball on the pitch or in the small area, we have the common language. We can play together. We understand together. And so far, for me, it's beautiful, and there's no borders, no language, because my language is universal. Football is universal. As if today we talk about globalization, for sure that today we are in this stadium. We talk about smart cities, we talk about smart stadium. Wi-Fi connects us to the world. And for sure that from your analysis, anthropological analysis, again, I'm thrilled to be with you, because when we talk about the story of football in Boston, the Indigenous wasn't integrated. Today, we can see that many Indigenous or natives has included some football clubs, and they made the differences. We can see with the Brazilian team, we can see with the French team, we've been. We can see also in German team, there are many different cultures in national teams. We were talking about nationalism. We were talking about many topics, and I'm very proud to host again this conference here with, of course, on behalf of Mr. Marinakis, this conference, because we need to declare to the world that maybe football has a place in society or sport, but also that we are all actors of our society and the development of our sport and our society. And again, I'm very proud to be also with all the champions, because we are all champions. But through us, maybe we are trying to give some models. I grew up with players who inspire me. I grew up with people who inspire me, my grandfathers, with their culture, with the nature. I grew up with opponents where I need to observe them to be better. This is all my education in football, but I don't forget where I belong to, where I come from. And of course, when I saw about the Brazilian, yes, they enrich themselves by going away, by going abroad. But still, they believe in God, they believe in their traditions. What else? Here in Greece, maybe Greece has invented the arena. The arena maybe to avoid violences, because we need to feed people. Today, we have the arena to promote sport or football, but again, to give a pleasure, to give to everyone the passion we have, and also to spread all this passion. But through that, we need to express also our values, to respect, to communicate, and of course, today for me it's one of the best days because you are all here. Thanks for your participation.
Yes, oui?
Ok, d'accord.
We are going to speak in French.
Yes. Ben, écoutez, tout d'abord, bonjour. Alors, pour moi, la frontière qui a été, je dirais, la plus importante à passer, c'est tout simplement aller vers l'autre, en fait. Lorsque vous arrivez dans une équipe de foot, la première des choses, c'est casser, c'est se présenter à l'autre, c'est rencontrer l'autre. Et je pense que c'est ce que nous faisons tous les jours, que ce soit au foot ou ailleurs. Et dans une équipe de foot, c'est extrêmement important de le faire parce que nous devons travailler ensemble. Et pour travailler ensemble, la meilleure des choses, c'est pouvoir se connaître. Et donc, moi, j'avais à cœur de me présenter, de présenter l'histoire qui était la mienne, l'histoire familiale, l'histoire de la Guadeloupe.
So first of all, I would like to say good morning, and I'm very happy to be here. We've talked about borders, about frontiers. For me, it's very important to talk about this issue. And the most important border, in my view, is to go towards the other. This otherness is a spirit of openness. This is what we are doing in football, in soccer, in other words. Because in a football game, we have to go towards the other. We have to meet the other. It's what we are doing every day, besides in our normal lives. And this is important in a team also, because in a team, in a soccer team, we have to work together, we have to play together, and we have to know each other. So the first border is that we have to be there and we have to be present. And I would like, first of all, to talk to you about my personal case and Guadeloupe.
Et effectivement, lorsque vous vous présentez à l'autre, lorsque vous apprenez à connaître l'autre, vous voyez qu'il y a des frontières plus épaisses que d'autres. Et une des frontières que j'ai constatées en me concernant, c'était la frontière liée à la couleur de la peau. C'est-à-dire que très souvent, les couleurs de peau sont chargées d'une histoire. Et cette frontière peut être plus épaisse ou moins épaisse. Certains les connaissances de la personne que vous avez en face.
So the fact is that you are present there. We have to be present, as I said before, and we have to know each other. You know, there are many layers of borders. There are many types of borders. Some are more delicate than others. For example, there is one border, and this is related to the skin color. It's a border, a type of border that is full of many stories and can hide many different layers of stories.
Et aussi, il y a une frontière qui est extrêmement intéressante dans le football, c'est l'épaisseur parfois énorme de la frontière qu'il y a entre les supporters de deux équipes. Et moi, j'avais à cœur très souvent d'aller vers les supporters des équipes adverses pour simplement leur montrer que la frontière qu'ils pensaient épaisse ne l'était pas. Et surtout qu'il ne fallait pas avoir de frontière. Parce que si la frontière est épaisse, ça peut emmener à une certaine violence. Donc voilà pourquoi il est très important pour moi de casser ces frontières parfois invisibles. Voilà. Non, non, c'est Qu'est-ce que ça veut dire, ça?
So this is important. That is why I like very much talking about these borders. The border is very present in soccer as well, because you know, in soccer, borders has a specific type of burden. Many times I went to the fans of the opposite team, of the adversary, and I also met our fans, the fans of our team. Many times I went to the fans of the opposite team, of the rival, to demonstrate to them that there must be no borders, that big borders or significant borders many times can mean and entail violence, which is not acceptable in football and, of course, in the world. That is why I went to them to demonstrate that we have to break these borders.
Okay, it's okay. Sometimes
invisible. Many times invisible borders. Thank you.
Antonio, so you wanted to tell a story for us? Or, yeah, thank you.
Να μιλήσουμε για τα δικά μας σύνορα. Και μιλάμε για τα δικά μου σύνορα. Που πέρασα κι εγώ για να βοηθήσω, για να σταθώ δίπλα σε ανθρώπους οι οποίοι ουσιαστικά πέρασαν τα σύνορά μας και ήρθαν στη χώρα μας για ασφάλεια. Και θα μιλήσω μέσα από την εμπειρία που είχα σαν τεχνικός διευθυντής της ομάδας Ελπίδα, Hope.
So I'm going to talk to you about my personal borders, because I was next to people who came to our country for a better future, and I will share with you my experience as an assistant of the Hope team.
Και το βασικό νόημα είναι ένα. Πως μπορεί να δώσεις πολύ λίγα και να προσφέρεις πάρα πολλά. Και νομίζω ότι όλοι μπορούμε να το κάνουμε αυτό και εγώ έπρεπε να το ζήσω, να ζήσω τους ανθρώπους αυτούς, τους ανθρώπους οι οποίοι στέκονται δίπλα τους και τους βοηθάνε και να καταλάβουμε ότι από τη δική μας πλευρά, μέσα από το ποδόσφαιρο, μπορούμε να δώσουμε σε ανθρώπους οι οποίοι υποφέρουν χαρά, 2 ώρες χαρά, ώστε να ξεχάσουν όλα αυτά τα προβλήματα τα οποία αντιμετωπίζουν εκεί που ζουν. Γιατί μην ξεχνάμε ότι αυτοί οι άνθρωποι είχαν μια κανονικότητα, ζούσαν στη χώρα τους ακριβώς όπως ζούμε κι εμείς και νομίζω ότι είναι καλό να τους προσφέρουμε, εφόσον είναι φιλοξενούμενοι στη χώρα μας, ακριβώς αυτά τα πράγματα.
I believe that there is only one meaning that I have to convey here to you, that as human beings we can give few but offer much. For instance, I was next to people who had to live here, had to come to our country, and I was able to assist them through football. And then I was able to be close to people who assisted these people who had to came here as migrants or refugees. So I believe that through football we can help these people who are in need, even for 2 hours, even through a soccer game. We have to make them forget of all their problems, even for some minutes or for some hours, because let us not forget that these people had to flee from a normality, their own everyday lives, what they were enjoying in their own countries. So now we are here to offer some help to those people.
Στο ποδόσφαιρο δεν υπάρχει μόνο μία γλώσσα, αυτή η γλώσσα του ποδόσφαιρου. Ακόμα και αν δεν μπορούσαμε να επικοινωνήσουμε μαζί τους, μέσα στο γήπεδο όλοι μαζί μιλάμε την ίδια γλώσσα. Νομίζω ότι Θα προσπαθήσουμε να συνεχίσουμε αυτή την προσπάθεια, γιατί ήταν κάτι που ευχαριστούσε εμάς κυρίως, γιατί έχουμε την ανάγκη να προσφέρουμε. Και ελπίζω με τον κύριο Κόκαλη να συνεχίσουμε και τη νέα χρονιά να προσφέρουμε σε αυτά τα παιδιά. Ευχαριστώ πολύ.
So let us all know that, that is in football there is only one language, even there is a linguistic barrier with those people. In the pitch, in the football, there is no actual barrier because we all speak the same common language, which is football. So I think that we shall keep on our efforts because we liked it a lot besides, and I hope that with Mr. Kokalis we shall continue this effort and help these people. Thank you very much.
I couldn't have asked for a better start to our panel today about ideas around border and sport. All of you talked about sport as healing, sport as language, sports as culture. So I know the audience would love to hear stories from you about the highest point for you in your sport career, where that sport transcended something more for you, whether it was a successful game or the influence of a player, or the work you're doing now. So what to you is the highlight of you and sport and soccer? So anyone can start. We're an equal opportunity panel. Yeah.
Δεν θέλω να μιλάμε για το παρελθόν, γιατί πέρασαν πάρα πολλά χρόνια από τότε που ξεκίνησα σαν ποδοσφαιριστής. Απλώς τώρα, σαν προπονητής και προπονητής εθνικών ομάδων, κυρίως σε νεαρή ηλικία, νιώθω να ξαναγεννιέμαι, νιώθω να γίνομαι πάλι μικρός, έχω το ίδιο πάθος όταν ξεκίνησα να παίζω ποδόσφαιρο. Δεν ξέρω πώς θα εξελιχθεί. Το άγνωστο καμιά φορά δεν φοβίζει, αλλά έτσι νιώθεις την προσμονή για το τι θα σου συμβεί σε όλη την καριέρα. Και ουσιαστικά είναι μια αναγέννηση, ύστερα από το τέλος μιας μεγάλης καριέρας, μια αναγέννηση στο καινούριο. Και αυτό μου δημιουργεί ενθουσιασμό και όρεξη για δουλειά.
Well, I don't particularly like to talk about the past because many years have passed since I started my career. But now I am a coach and I very much like my work with the national teams because I'm a trainer for young players. I feel reborn through this process and I feel still young, or that I am again young at the beginning of my career. I feel the same passion now as a coach as the one I felt at the beginning of my career. To be frank with you, it's a trip to the unknown, and I'm very excited for the future. As I said, I feel reborn after the end of a beautiful career, and I'm very eager to work with young players. Thank you.
So my last season was 2011, and I suffered my third knee surgery and third knee operation. And prior to that, I had played only with the U23 national team, a little bit internationally. And after that experience, suffered my first knee injury, which changed everything. And that failure that was out of my control, which a lot of life is, taught me the most about how to overcome injury, but also really devastating obstacles. And I think in our lives, we experience many deaths. And so this was a death of my understanding of my identity as one of the top footballers. And I had to really imagine a life beyond the pitch. So when I eventually went to go play professionally, I suffered my first knee injury in 2001, and my last one was in 2011. So I had 3 knee reconstructions, all of which taught me something different. The ultimate reward for me was recognizing the opportunities I had in education, getting a scholarship at Arizona State University, being here at the Harvard conference. I would have never imagined myself presenting at a Harvard conference. Last year, I submitted my research to present my thesis. So I did that, and it's really all about providing visibility for our Native youth. Just some brief background on the things that we endure in our communities from the intergenerational trauma and the historical trauma. We've been fighting colonialism since 1492, and this is a life that we've had to adjust to. There are no known numbers, but the idea of Native American populations go anywhere from 40 million to 140 million pre-contact. At the lowest point, Native American population got down to 250,000. Now we're 5.2 million. So that's success, that's survival, and that's what our ancestors know how to do. Having a microphone and being a Native woman is ultimately the most rewarding because it gives me an opportunity to speak on behalf of those that cannot speak. We have a serious issue with missing and murdered Indigenous women. There are no statistics on the rates of violence. There are no certain statistics on the rates of violence that Indigenous women endure, but we do know that 1 in 3 Native women experience rape in their lifetime, and I'd say that I'd say that it's probably more like 1 in 2. I'm going to share a hard story. While I've been here, another woman was 22 years old, went missing. She was 8 months pregnant. They found her baby. Her neighbors had cut her baby out of her, killed her, disposed of her body in the river. This is regular. This is regular violence that Native women experience. The visibility that we need and deserve to be able to tell our stories so that we can right our wrongs, which is, as far as my grandfather would say, we paid our taxes with all this beautiful land, and we'll never be paid back as far as we're concerned. But what we can do is we can heal, and we can come together, and we can bridge the barriers through things like football, through music, through culture. And so for me, the greatest success is the validation of having my, not just my career, but my work be recognized by the likes of Harvard, and thank you all for listening to our stories because they're important. Prioritizing Indigenous voices is what I am fighting for. We need to listen. When you're going into communities, academics, when you're going into communities, make sure that you're prioritizing the voice of the people the subjects that you're studying. Listen to them, ask them what they need. Don't assume that you know what they need. And a lot of what we endure as Native people is this idea that the colonial world knows better. This being here right now, being able to manifest my career in football into a career in broadcasting, in speaking, and in academics, and then in turn giving that back to the next 7 generations, we have this idea that it's the next 7 generations we have to think about, not just now, not just our kids, but 7 generations yet to come. That's our obligation. We know that this life is short. There's life and death, and that's one of the teachings that I've experienced, the beauty in both. So this, I would say, is really the highlight. This is one of many highlights of my career, but being here and having it transcend beyond the pitch into an opportunity to use my voice in a way through football to connect across worlds, lets other Native people know that we're here. We have high rates of suicide. We need to change that. And by visibility, we can do that. We can change that. So I think that's probably my highlight. Thank you.
Tout d'abord, je suis toujours surpris par cette question, parce que c'est vrai que très souvent, on demande aux sportifs quel a été le point culminant de leur carrière. Moi, je dirais que lorsqu'on essaie de chercher le point culminant, ça voudrait dire qu'on arrive très 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 haut et après, en fait, qu'on descend. Et en fait, j'ai jamais eu cette sensation. Moi, je dois avouer que ce que je retiens, c'est ce que m'a appris ma carrière de footballeur. C'est-à-dire, ça m'a appris à être en compétition avec moi-même, donc apprendre à me connaître, à accepter que je ne sache pas faire des choses, à travailler dur pour essayer de le faire, et être en confrontation aussi avec l'adversaire, en respectant les règles, en essayant de lui montrer à quel point vous êtes fort, mais en respectant toujours les règles. Ça m'a appris aussi énormément de choses dans les rencontres qui se passent entre joueurs de foot. Ça m'a apporté beaucoup d'amitié, et je pense que ça c'est très très important. Et je dirais que le point culminant, quand je me suis arrêté, parce que j'ai dû m'arrêter comme tout sportif à un moment donné, c'est regarder en arrière et se dire tiens, ce petit garçon qui est né en Guadeloupe, qui est arrivé à 9 ans aux Antilles, eh ben, il aurait pu mieux faire, mais c'est pas mal ce qu'il a fait quand même, parce qu'on peut toujours mieux faire. C'est-à-dire lorsqu'on est sportif de haut niveau, c'est-à-dire qu'il y a une certaine insatisfaction. C'est ça qui est intéressant chez les sportifs de haut niveau, c'est-à-dire qu'on peut toujours faire plus, on peut toujours faire mieux. Donc j'ai essayé de faire... En fait, depuis très longtemps... Non, mais je vais vous expliquer. Parce que nous étions en chambre ensemble, en équipe de France. Et depuis très longtemps, il m'embête. Tout le temps. On était sur le même côté du terrain. Et tout le temps, il m'embêtait. Et ça continue. Mais je pense que c'est de l'amour, j'en suis sûr même.
So I have wondered about that myself. What is the most critical point or the most important point in one's career? So we have to know that many times there is an important point in one's career, yes, and many times we know big heights and then we have to fall. But for me, I have to say that looking back at my professional career, I had no such feeling that is of big heights and that I have to fall, because I learned some things throughout my career, and these were the following: that I have to compete against myself, which meant that I have to know myself first of all. Then I had to work hard to reach at a significant level. And then I have to play against an adversary, always respecting the rules, which is very important to me. Then I had the chance to meet with many football players, with many professional players. And, of course, I became a friend with many of them, which is also important to me. Moreover, you know, another critical point for me now, looking back at my career, I have to say that I'm thinking of myself, and I'm always saying to me that this small boy that grew up in, that was born rather in Guadeloupe, did it fine, rather fine, but I could have done it better, because you know, when you are an athlete at a high level, you have also this feeling that you can't do it better, you can perform better. It is this feeling of unsatisfaction that all high sportsmen have inside them. And as regards Kριστιάν, you know, when we were in the French national team, they always used to bother me, but now they seem to continue that in the room.
Et effectivement, pourquoi je ne trouve pas de point cumulant, c'est juste pour dire que ça m'a apporté quelque chose d'essentiel. Et je crois que chacun de nous on a besoin de ce sentiment-là, c'est de travailler à avoir une bonne estime de soi. Et je pense que le football m'a emmené ça, par le travail que j'ai pu faire, et surtout par l'amour que j'ai reçu des supporters. Voilà.
So that is why I'm telling you about this critical point in one's career. What was important for me, what football taught me, is that I had to work a lot in order to reach a level of self-esteem, which is important in my view for everybody's life. And this is what I keep from football. This and also the love that I got from the fans. Thank you.
Your highlight.
Oof. Highlights. I think that the highlights is today. When we talk about football, we talk about borders. True that we didn't expect to be in this kind of conference. And, and of course, it's when we talk about highlights in our career, we have a goal. We need to achieve that goal, to try to be professional or to win trophy. But after that, we know that we need to have another pathway after career. And this is why we are very proud to be here. And of course, Mr. Marinakis offered me the opportunity to come back to the football industry, and where I learned about marketing, about the merchandising, about many, many things in football, also with the foundations. So far, yes, this is my highlight today. And very, very proud. And this is thanks to you for coming and for, how we say that, sharing all your ideas and initiatives. Thank you.
So we have an opportunity for folks to ask questions from the audience. There's microphones around the room. If you would just raise your hand, any and all of our panelists would be, I guess, happy to answer questions for the folks. And from what I've learned the last 2 days, there's some people that have questions for you. They might be too shy to say it because they're a little in awe, but there are definitely people out there with questions for you. All right, so don't be shy. If you have a question. Wow. Please, yeah, all right. Thank you, friend.
Well, for tennis, the question would be, could you talk a little bit about the women football players abroad that you crossed? For our special guest, how do you explain that so many players of the 1988 team have such a successful post-career?
So 2 questions. Okay. One for you, Samaras, and then about the 88 team being successful post. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Sorry, 98. Sorry, again, American. I apologize.
Well, I was fortunate enough to play with some of my own heroes. Brandi Chastain, 99 World Cup winner, the notorious shirt ripoff. You know, she's a defender and someone that also I converted to defender like her. I played with her semi-professionally in the Bay Area, and along with her, I also played with a player named Cici Duamour. She was the original Marta from my experience. And I really loved playing with Cici. She was 40 when I played with her, and I was in my early 20s. But there was something about her composure, her experience. At the time, I was playing center back, and I could always find her. Just subtle movements off the ball, and her style and her experience was amazing. In the Damallsvenskan in Sweden, at the time, it was... I kind of missed the windows for the professional leagues. When I graduated from the university, the women's professional league, WUSA, the first one, had folded. So playing professionally for me was never really a dream. I always dreamed of representing, I wanted to be the first Native American to ever play for the women's national team. And I almost made it, but knee surgeries. I made it to the 23s. I was the captain there, and being a leader there was an honor. But shortly after my stint with them, I injured my knee. I got invited back. 2 days after I got invited back, I injured my knee. So playing professionally became the dream realized. And I got to play against the likes of Marta. And I had to go, at the time, we were at the bottom of the table, and Umeå was at the top. I played for a team called Balinga. And Marta had to score 6 goals to be the golden boot for that season. And so they were already winning the league, and we were already being relegated at the time. And she and we had, she injured my neck really badly because I took so many of her shots off of my, head. So I have permanent, every time I think of Marta, I think of my neck. But she's one of those players that should beat you because she's so phenomenal, really fast. I also got to play with her a little in Los Angeles. And I thought that was especially for you, being the Brazilian international. But I got to play with amazing players from all over the world. Yeah.
And to our male colleagues on the panel, what did you learn about success from your success in the championships, whether it be 2004 or 1998? 2004. Yeah, that was my 2004. I said 2004, right? Did I? All right. Thank you.
Να μιλήσω για την εθνική μας ομάδα. Που νομίζω ότι η δική μας η επιτυχία είναι σαφώς μεγαλύτερη σε εισαγωγικά από την εθνική ομάδα της Γαλλίας. Γι' αυτό, γιατί το να πάρει η εθνική ομάδα της Γαλλίας στο παγκόσμιο και το ευρωπαϊκό είναι μέσα στους στόχους. Αλλά το να πάρει η εθνική ομάδα ένα ευρωπαϊκό πρωτάθλημα είναι κάτι το αδιανόητο. Είναι κάτι που προσπαθούν να το εξηγήσουν εδώ και πάρα πολύ καιρό το πώς το κατάφερε αυτό η εθνική ομάδα της Ελλάδος.
So I have to share with you the experience that comes from the national team of Greece, of course, in 2004. I believe that our success is a bit bigger compared to the success of France's team, because, you know, if the French team gets the World Cup or the Euro Cup, this is one of the objectives. It would be quite normal for them. But, but for Greece, but for Greece, it's something inconceivable. Even today, they are trying to explain how we did it.
Θα το πω έτσι λίγο πιο εύκολα και πιο κατανοητά. Είχαμε την τύχη να έχουμε μαζί μας έναν Γερμανό προπονητή, και το λέω με την έννοια Γερμανός, με την έννοια ότι είναι ένας άνθρωπος αυστηρός, πειθαρχημένος, με αρχές, που κατάφερε να τυθασεύσει και να ενώσει Έλληνες, εμάς δηλαδή, ένα πολύ δύσκολο λαό, και μάλιστα ποδοσφαιριστές αρχηγούς της ομάδας τους, σημεία αναφοράς. Κατάφερε να τους κάνει να σκέφτονται με τον ίδιο τρόπο, να λειτουργούν με τον ίδιο τρόπο, να γίνουν ομάδα. Και όπως όλοι μας γνωρίζουμε, από τα αρχαία χρόνια, όταν καταφέρεις και ενώσεις αυτόν τον λαό, μπορεί να κάνεις σπουδαία πράγματα. Και αυτό ακριβώς έγινε.
So, to put it in an easier way, we were lucky enough back in 2004 to have a German coach. What do I mean by that? By German, of course, I mean a strict person, a strict coach, which had to follow some principles and some guidelines in the team. So this coach managed to tame the Greeks and brought all Greek players together, because, you know, we Greek players are of difficult temperament, and this is quite difficult to tame. And of course, he managed to bond, to keep together players that were leaders in their own teams, in their teams where they played. So he managed to make us think as one, work as one, and then he made us a team. And as we know, since antiquity, if you keep these people together, then we can achieve a lot. Thank you.
Alors, le succès apprend énormément de choses. Tout d'abord, qu'il faut croire en ses rêves. Ça, c'est extrêmement important. Parce qu'effectivement, lorsque j'étais jeune garçon, que je jouais dans le bac à sable avec mes amis Benito et Paula, je me disais qu'un jour, j'allais gagner la Coupe du Monde. Mais bon, c'était des rêves d'enfant. J'ai eu des professeurs qui me disaient « Ah oui, tu veux être joueur de foot ?»« Ah ouais, ben ouais, mais ça ne sert à rien. » Donc je crois que le succès apprend vraiment à croire en soi, à essayer de travailler, à avoir beaucoup d'humilité. Le succès apprend aussi que vous ne pouvez pas arriver tout seul. Ça, c'est très important. Par exemple, lorsque j'avais 17 ans, j'ai eu une opération au genou. J'ai eu un chirurgien qui m'a dit que je ne pourrais plus jamais jouer au foot. Et j'ai eu la chance, dans mon club, d'avoir un kinésithérapeute, d'avoir un entraîneur qui ont toujours cru en moi et qui, petit à petit, m'ont emmené à la guérison. Le succès apprend aussi quelque chose d'essentiel, peut-être, c'est-à-dire qu'il faut avoir une certaine capacité du don de soi. En règle générale, dans la société, très souvent, les gens voudraient que les autres soient à leur disposition. Et au foot, on apprend qu'il faut être à disposition du collectif si on veut gagner. Et lorsque vous avez la chance d'être dans une équipe où chacun comprend cela, eh bien, vous arrivez au succès. Je fais don de ce que je sais faire à l'équipe. Le succès apprend beaucoup de choses, mais la défaite aussi apprend, peut-être encore plus. Et la défaite, on l'a connue en 2002 à la Coupe du Monde, et ça apprend l'humilité. Je pense que parfois, nous, êtres humains, nous oublions d'être humbles devant les choses, d'être humbles vis-à-vis des autres et de la nature. Je pense que l'humilité, peut-être, c'est ce qui emmène peut-être à la victoire. Voilà.
I have to say that through soccer, through football, I have learned many different things. First of all, I have learned how to believe in myself. Because, you know, as a young boy, I had two friends, Benito and Paula, and I told them once that my big dream was to win the World Cup. And of course, back then they laughed at me. Of course, I told my professors, my teachers at school, that I would like to be a professional football player. And their reply went, okay, why? It's useless. So I have learned that football can teach me that as well. So one of the many learnings of football is that you can believe in yourself, and then you have to work a lot to reach at a certain level. Then football has also learned me to be humble. And of course, I have learned that you can never reach the top alone. You need others as well. Because, for example, I remember that when I was 17 years old, I had a problem with my knees and I underwent an operation. So the doctors back then told me that I would never play at a professional level. However, I was lucky enough to have in my team a very important coach and a doctor who believed in me, and together we managed to overcome this problem. This can lead to success as well. Moreover, another pathway to success is that you can doubt about yourself and always be at the disposal of others and at the disposal of your community. Of course, we can learn many things through the success, through wins, but also I believe that we can also learn many things through defeats, through being defeated. For example, in 2002, we won the World Cup, but many times we, human beings, we forget about humbleness, because I think that through defeats you can learn how to be humble enough, humble vis-à-vis different things in your life, humble vis-à-vis the others and the nature. Thank you.
I think everyone has given a great answer about success. No, for myself, I think that true. we cannot repeat mistakes, and for sure that when we know that people had inspired you or a collective gave you the opportunity to be successful, you learn about that. You learn about mistakes, and you don't want to reproduce mistakes, and you observe all around to be successful, knowing that you need to work for that. And of course, I think that we saw about our predecessors, where they cultivate this kind of emotion, they cultivate this kind of atmosphere, environment to be successful. So far there is a pathway again, where we can indeed repeat it, trying to make it perfect like themselves. It's never perfect. You need to always adjust because of many parameters. But for sure, yes, I think that when we talk about success, I've been to Madrid, I've been to Olympiacos. We cultivate the victory. So it's in your genes, it's in your DNA, and it's also a brand. So every player who signs, they know that what goal they need to achieve and to be successful, of course, as a human being and as a sportsman.
Thank you very much, and thank you more importantly for all the good work that you're doing, because I think what's really come out of the presentations and sharing your stories is how much you're using your positions to speak for your native peoples, to fight discrimination and racism, and to help those like refugees who have very little. It's very nice that you're using this position as famous individuals to do that. How can we reach out and do the same thing? How do we encourage those issues to be communicated to a much broader audience?
Okay. I can speak to issues regarding Indigenous people in North America. And really, I only represent myself, but understanding the issues that we face in terms of what intergenerational trauma looks like now, which historical trauma looks like now, isolations in marginalized spaces. I keep saying we have to prioritize Indigenous voices, and that was my experience with Standing Rock, and recognizing how powerful the tool of social media became in a necessity for us to defend our ways of life, and really just basic human rights, like the rights to water. It seems really, water. It seems really basic, but unfortunately we're in interesting times where capitalism, greed, oil, resource extraction, they're all directly related to Indigenous issues all over the world. Same things are happening in South America. Same things are happening in islands in the Pacific. It's happening, I'm sure, in places I'm completely unaware, but it's happening all over the world where this Indigenous land is, these ideas of what are resources are being extracted, and now we have climate and global warming issues. One of the reasons why Standing Rock was so successful, and I don't mean successful in the fact that it actually stopped the pipeline, because the pipeline went through. For those of you that don't know, Dakota Access Pipeline was slated to run through Bismarck, North Dakota. Bismarck is 95% white. The population of the city voted. They decided they didn't want the pipeline running under the Missouri River. The Missouri River is one of the largest rivers that splits through North America. It serves 18 million people. That's how many people depend on that water source. Not to mention all the other agriculture and everything else all the implications that go along with this. The pipeline ultimately, with our new administration, got forced at gunpoint, essentially, to, I'm jumping ahead. Bismarck voted not to have that pipeline run through their town. It got moved 40 miles south to the border of the reservation, which in 1851, Fort Laramie Treaty states that the Standing Rock Sioux tribe has authority over that land. Why Standing Rock was so successful was this idea of Indigenous leadership, which was not absolute. It was a community leadership, elder leadership, often listening to Indigenous women, and peaceful action, no violence. In the camp, there was strict regulations about no drugs, no alcohol, no weapons. And every time we confronted the Dakota Access Pipeline along with the militarized police force that showed up, we were very clear that we had no weapons. so in this experience, and then with the youth really leading the way and the Indigenous women standing right behind them, the way things got done was listening to the stories of the people who live there. So my encouragement to each and every one of you is go into the communities, and instead of thinking that we know what's best because we think we can evaluate and analyze, rather ask them what they need. Number one, ask what is needed. Ask for permission. We have a really hard time doing that. Ask for permission. And what that can do is exponential in terms of healing for Indigenous peoples, not just in North America, but really around the world. And be a good ally. What does it mean to be a good ally? Recognize that brown and black bodies are targeted, and that if you have white privilege, then often, if you want to be a good ally, you might need to put yourself in the way. And that's what I experienced at Standing Rock. In terms of calls to action now, I would say we still have a woman that's being held political prisoner. Her name is Red Fawn. She's a Native woman. She's Lakota. And she's been there for since Standing Rock, since August. Oh, gosh, it's been over than that. For a long time. She's a political prisoner, held wrongfully. Free Red Fawn is their website, freeredfawn.org. I encourage you to support in any way you can. Yeah.
Μπορώ. Νομίζω είναι απλό. Αλλά το απλό είναι και δύσκολο. Και πιστεύω ότι αν εμείς που εμπλεκόμαστε μπορούμε και μιλήσουμε τον ίδιο ενθουσιασμό για αυτά τα πράγματα που κάνουμε, έτσι, για τη δουλειά που κάνουμε, για τους ανθρώπους τους οποίους βοηθάμε και μπορέσουμε να πείσουμε τον κύκλο μας, γύρω μας, για το πόσο σημαντικό είναι με λίγο χρόνο που μπορείς να αφιερώσεις, να προσφέρεις τόσα πολλά σε ανθρώπους οι οποίοι υποφέρουν, το να πηγαίνεις και να σε βλέπουν ότι πραγματικά συμμετέχεις σε αυτή την προσπάθεια, νομίζω μπορεί να δώσει το έναυσμα, ώστε σιγά-σιγά να αρχίσουμε να σκεφτόμαστε ότι ναι, μπορούμε όλοι από λίγο να δώσουμε για να γίνουμε και όλοι εθελοντές σε μια προσπάθεια, είτε αυτή έχει να κάνει με το προσφυγικό ή με οτιδήποτε. Σίγουρα τα media βοηθούν, αλλά πολλές φορές για μένα πιστεύω ότι λειτουργούν και κάπως αποτρεπτικά απέναντι στον κόσμο, γιατί ο κόσμος το βλέπει σαν διαφήμιση. Γι' αυτό πιστεύω ότι η προσωπική επαφή, ο λόγος, μπορείς να πείσεις ανθρώπους, έστω λίγους, να έρθουν πιο κοντά σε αυτή την προσπάθεια.
So I think that the reply is quite simple, but doing the simple thing is also the most difficult thing in life. I think that if we, people who are involved in this effort, if we talk enthusiastically about what we are doing, about our work, about the people whom we help, and if we can persuade the people around us about our work and about the importance of our work, then we can achieve a lot. Because I think that we can show to everybody that by offering a small amount of our time, we can offer many things to those people in need. And if other people see that you personally participate in a big endeavor, then this can become a trigger for others to participate as well. And everybody shall understand that yes, we can, that by doing little, we can offer many things to those that are in need. And we can be all volunteers in any aspect of our lives, in anything that we might choose to offer. Again, we heard enough that media can be very helpful, but on the other hand, this can also deter people because they might think that media is used for personal promotion. So the best way, in my view, is the personal contact, and the others should see you, be there at the personal level, and help the others. Thank you.
How we can help? I think depend on the target, what we want to do. And as Nico said, we have many issues and of course many solutions. But so far we need to think also the periodicity of what is long-term vision, small, and what is the vision. And I think that today we are trying to implement something in the world, in our sport, in our society, and this is very deep and deep target also. And yesterday or 2 days ago, Mr. Marquez has invited politicians, businessmen, and we are all here with maybe knowledges, researches, but I think we need to give them this opportunity to learn about this also. And we can all together find the best solution and to help and to reach the target we have. That's it.
Je ne vais pas être très long, ça c'est sûr. Alors, je pense que l'une des premières choses pour aider, je vais vous montrer une carte. Vous voyez cette carte du monde?
So I'm going to keep it short. So I'm going to keep it short.
Mais Christian, mais c'est pas possible. Et donc, en fait, tout le monde me dit, il faut retourner la carte, d'accord? Traduisez en même temps que moi. Ouais.
So I'm going to keep it short. One thing that we can do to help is that I'm going to show you through the world map. When I'm showing this world map, everybody's saying you have to turn it the other way around.
Ok. Mais en fait, pourquoi? Parce que effectivement, je pense que la première des choses pour que les gens puissent aider, c'est comprendre qu'effectivement, ils ont été conditionnés dans une façon de penser les choses. Traduisons.
Because the first thing that we have to do to help others is to be aware of the fact that we are trapped in one certain way to think of things.
Et effectivement, très souvent, lorsque je montre cette carte, les gens me demandent de la retourner. Et je dis très souvent, la Terre est ronde, c'est-à-dire qu'on pourrait la regarder dans n'importe quel sens. Et dès qu'on change le sens, on est perturbé parce qu'on a trop souvent l'habitude de la regarder dans un seul sens et on finit par croire qu'il n'y a qu'un sens qui est vrai.
So many times people tell me to turn it the other way around, and this shows that we have been taught to have only one way of thinking, but there is only one word, and there is only one truth.
Et très souvent, les gens ne savent pas que les cartes traditionnelles qu'on voit ne respectent pas les vraies proportions entre les continents.
And very often people are not aware of the fact that the world map that we have in mind, the one that we see in front of us, does not respect the actual proportions and the distance between continents.
Donc ça veut dire que la plupart des gens dans le monde ont une façon de penser le monde qui est déjà pas vraiment la bonne façon.
And this shows that the way people are looking into the world is not the right one.
Et donc je pense que pour vraiment aider, c'est comprendre qu'effectivement, que vous, par exemple, qui posez la question, vous êtes un homme. Et donc, étant donné que vous êtes un homme, vous allez être conditionné à peut-être penser que vous êtes supérieur à une femme.
So if we really need to help others, we have to think out of the box. For instance, you, that you're raising the question, you are a man, and so you might think that due to the fact that you are a man, you might be superior to a woman.
Et si vous ne le savez pas, vous allez reproduire les schémas de domination qui sont liés au passé.
And even if you are not aware of this fact, you might rethink inside you the domination scheme coming from the past.
Si vous ne faites pas attention, vous allez vous enfermer dans votre nationalité.
If you don't pay attention, you might be trapped in your nationality boundaries.
Et si vous êtes enfermé dans votre nationalité, vous allez penser que vous êtes mieux qu'une autre nationalité.
So in this case, you might think that you are better than another person belonging to another nationality.
Et voilà comment les frontières se mettent en place.
And that is how we have borders.
Si vous posez la question et vous ne faites pas attention parce que vous êtes de couleur dite blanche, vous allez peut-être être éduqué à penser que vous êtes mieux que les autres qui sont d'une autre couleur.
If you are raising the question again, I'm taking your example, if you believe inside you that I'm raising the question and I'm white, so maybe you might think that you are superior to another person that has a different skin color.
Parce qu'en fait, c'est l'histoire du monde qui raconte cela.
Because this is the world story that has this narration.
Et plus grave encore, certains sont persuadés que le monde leur appartient.
And then, to make it worse, some people believe that and are convinced that the world belongs to them.
Et ils n'arrivent pas à se mettre sur le même plan d'égalité entre eux et les personnes qu'on appelle les réfugiés.
So they do not place themselves at the same equality level as the people that are named refugees.
Parce qu'effectivement, est-ce que les réfugiés sont aussi légitimes que nous sur cette terre?
Because we have to wonder, are refugees as legitimate as we are on this world, on this planet?
Mais beaucoup de personnes pensent qu'ils ne sont pas légitimes.
But many people think that they are not legitimate here on that planet.
Parce qu'effectivement, beaucoup de personnes sont dans leurs frontières en disant « ça m'appartient ici ».
Because many people are trapped within their own personal borders and they believe that this place owns to me.
Alors que le déplacement de population est la chose la plus légitime qui existe au monde.
So the circulation of people is the most legitimate thing that exists out there.
Parce que si aujourd'hui il y a des hommes et des femmes de couleurs différentes, c'est parce qu'à un moment donné, il y a eu mouvement de population.
Because if today we do have different people with different skin colors, this means that at some time there was a circulation of people.
Et je pense que la première des choses, si on veut dépasser les problématiques dans ce monde, c'est qu'on puisse se voir avant tout comme des êtres humains, ayant les mêmes droits de vivre sur cette terre-là.
So we really need to overcome all these problems and this narration of being of superiority or not. We have first of all to believe that we are human beings and all of us do have the same rights on this planet.
Et ce qui est très intéressant, que ce soit dans un pays en Europe ou en Afrique ou dans les Amériques, c'est que trop souvent, les riches se pensent plus légitimes que les pauvres.
And what is equally interesting is that many times in different countries, either in Europe or in Africa or in the Americas, rich people believe that they are superior than others, than the poor ones.
Et je pense que c'est ça la réalité. C'est-à-dire, c'est pour ça, nous devons éduquer les jeunes générations à se percevoir avant tout comme des êtres humains. Et pas à travers la couleur de peau, pas à travers la sexualité ou la religion ou la nationalité, parce que ça n'a pas de sens. Et ce piège-là, effectivement, ces pièges-là existent.
So we have to educate young people. We have to, first of all, to understand this reality, train and educate young people, the young generation, to think as human beings and not be based on the skin color, the gender, the sexuality, the religion, or the nationality, because all this can become a big trap.
Parce que la vraie question, c'est, nous sommes ici, par exemple, sur un stade de foot. Nous sommes à l'Olympiacos. Il y a d'autres équipes en Grèce. Le problème, c'est que si vous vous sentez faisant partie d'un groupe, vous allez défendre votre groupe. Vous allez penser que votre groupe est meilleur. Vous allez voir les supporters d'Olympiacos, ils sont persuadés que c'est les meilleurs. Vous allez voir une équipe adversaire d'Olympiacos, ils vont penser qu'eux sont les meilleurs. Et ça finit par l'affrontement parfois. Et qui dit affrontement dit pas de partage.
So this is a big question. For instance, we are here in a football stadium, the stadium of Olympiacos FC, but we can also understand that there are some other teams in Greece besides Olympiacos. For instance, this brings to mind that if we become members of one group, then we shall do our best to defend this group. For instance, the fans of Olympiacos believe that they are the best in Greece, but the same goes for the other fans of the other teams in Greece. And, you know, belonging into a group only, being trapped into this, into this framework, this brings clash. And clash leads nowhere. Clash means no sharing.
Et je pense que la première des choses, si nous devons vraiment aider les gens, c'est peut-être changer nos lunettes culturelles pour qu'on puisse se percevoir avant tout comme des êtres humains. Voilà.
And if we really need to help people, at the end of the day, we have to change our cultural glasses and think of ourselves as human beings only. Thank you.
Merci. I don't think there would be a better way to end this conversation. I think it's everything that Sven and Steve were hoping that would happen today about borders and movement. Before we all break for what I hear is going to be a rousing, no, not a, yeah, that's what I'm saying, before we break, right? I'd like to invite Mr. Miladis Marinakis, please, to the podium for a special presentation. Could you all wait just, and you need, Lillian. I think you're supposed to wear that in a little while, yes? Yeah. So this concludes our program. Sven is going to please wrap up with some parting words for our guests. So Sven and Steve Ortega. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much to the members of the panel. I think that was a really impressive wrap-up of our discussions here, and I think also pointed to the relevance of some of the work that we do here for political activism and our work out in the real world. And I just wanted to quickly remind ourselves. So one of the organizers of this venue, of this meeting, is this initiative at Harvard University on global history. And when Lillian spoke, it reminded me very much that his agenda of kind of destabilizing how we think about the word. For example, when you look at the map, this is very much the core of what we are trying to do when we try to rethink how to approach history. In some ways, what we try to do is an effort to destabilize our thinking about history. Because as you know, much of the history that has been written in the past 150 years has been national in focus, so it's the Greek history and American history and British history, and it also has been radically Eurocentric. Much of the history of the world has been told only from a European perspective. And what we try to do generally, but in particular also with this conference, and you participated so wonderfully in this project, was to write a history that is truly global in scope. A history that includes all of the world's people and not just the people who happen to be privileged in the past 100 or 200 years. And we are also very much eager to tell a history that does not universalize from the European perspective alone, but tells a story that generalizes from the perspective of all of the world's history. And I want to thank you again, all of you, for being part of this project. And I very much want to thank again Olympiacos for enabling us to have this conversation. So thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
So this is completely unprepared, but there are a few takeaways that I want to think about. And first of all, again, I want to thank Olympiacos. I want to thank the Weatherhead Center. I want to thank Maria, if she's still here. She was a workhorse. I want to thank Jessica. I just want to thank all the people who contributed to this conference. So last night, when we were going to the restaurant, I had the good fortune to sit with Lillian Tουράμ, and we had a conversation. Now, the conversation was not in English. The conversation was not in French. The conversation was in Italian. So neither of us were speaking our native language. Lillian's Italian is better than mine, so I was the one who was really challenged. Okay, I did okay. But I guess what it taught me is that one of the things about bringing together different parties like this, it's an act of translation. It's an act of how do we, people in different fields, learn to understand one another better. And I think that one of the successes of this conference has been exactly that. And I think it built on something that we began last year in Cambridge, and I think we took it a step further this year in sort of learning how we can sort of translate and understand each other's ideas better. I think, so that's point number one. Number two, change. So Kριστιάν pointed to this idea of change as a necessity. I'm sorry I had to learn this from a Real Madrid guy, but, you know, hey, you know, that change is sort of essential in the way that all of us do business. So we had a club who can bring its experience. We have academics who bring research. We have NGOs who bring activism. It's a really interesting partnership, and I think it's a unique partnership. And I think it's something that we'll look to continue in the future with our third conference. And I think we've learned from the first two conferences, and the third one will be even better. Okay, accessibility. One of the things I'm really proud about in this conference is a number of people have come up to me after the academic panels and have said, I get it. I get it. And that can be a problem at academic conferences. That can be a problem for people who aren't in the academy to understand the ideas that are being put forward. So I thank all of our panelists, our academic panelists, for making yourselves so accessible. That's the way you begin to change the world. Is by speaking in a language that other people can understand. I mean, you think about it. Here we are in Greece. The conference is in English, which has a power dynamic all its own, right? But yet, you know, you let other people into the wonderful work that you're doing. And if you continue to do that, I think, you know, you'll create sort of better understanding in the world. And then I want to reference one last point here that Lillian referred to, and that's trapped. And I agree with you that and I was thinking about it from the sense that I'm working in an academy. I work at an educational, at soon to be a university. But I think that we're trying to become untrapped. And I think by having the types of conversations that we had here, and by bringing these different constituents together, we can possibly begin to think through, you know, how we are not trapped. So I put forward a question to you, sort of everybody in the audience, the panel. We saw this partnership as Olympiacos, who has the experience of football. The researchers are people who are doing the latest work on, you know, what the ideas that we need to think about. And the NGOs are the ones who are able to implement these ideas. Now, we need to move forward with this. But how do we do it? Because I don't think there's any one answer. And I think we need contributions from all of you to think about how this needs to work. It really needs to be more about listening than speaking at anybody. So I'll leave it at that and sort of put it out to you and thank all of you for really what has been a remarkable series of events. Thank you.
Now we